It was the winter of 1914, and the world was only months into what would become one of the deadliest conflicts in history, World War I. The Western Front was a frozen nightmare. Men on both sides, British, French and German, were dug into muddy trenches stretching for hundreds of miles. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, decay and despair. The war was still young, but already millions of lives had been shattered. Yet, in the midst of this horror, something extraordinary happened, something so human, so unexpected that it still echoes more than a century later. It became known as the Christmas Truce. On Christmas Eve 1914, as darkness fell over the front lines in Belgium, an unusual sound began to drift through the cold night air. It wasn't the whistle of bullets or the roar of artillery, it was singing. From the German trenches came the soft but clear melody of Stille Nacht, Silent Night. The British soldiers, surprised and cautious, listened in silence. And then to their own astonishment, some began to sing back, Silent Night in English. Across the deadly strip of land known as No Man's Land, two opposing armies were suddenly sharing a carol. The singing was followed by shouts, not of anger, but of greetings. Merry Christmas drifted across the battlefield. Then came the flicker of lanterns and the sight of Christmas trees the Germans had placed on the parapets of their trenches. Soon, soldiers began cautiously emerging from their dugouts, first one, then another, until men from both sides stood in the open, unarmed. They met in the middle, in the very space where hours earlier they had been trying to kill each other. What happened next is almost unbelievable. The soldiers shook hands. They exchanged cigarettes, chocolate, and even buttons from their uniforms. Some shared photographs of loved ones. Others helped bury the dead who had been lying between the trenches. The war, for a moment, was set aside. Then came something even more surreal. A football appeared. Accounts differ on whether it was a proper match or just a friendly kickabout in the mud. But British and German soldiers laughed and played together in the middle of a war zone. Not every section of the front experienced the truce. In some places, the fighting continued. And the higher military commands on both sides were far from pleased when they learned what had happened. The war machine had no interest in friendship between enemies. Orders were issued to prevent such truces from happening again. By New Year's, the guns were firing once more, and the killing resumed with even greater ferocity. Still, the Christmas Truce of 1914 has endured as one of the most striking moments of humanity during war. Historians have debated its meaning. Some see it as a rare and beautiful reminder that, deep down, soldiers on both sides were ordinary men, caught in a conflict they didn't start, longing for home and peace. Others view it as a fleeting dream, a momentary pause in an otherwise relentless slaughter. Whatever interpretation you take, the fact remains. For a single night and day, hatred was set aside. No orders from above made it happen. It was a spontaneous act born of shared humanity, even in the most inhuman of circumstances. It's a reminder that even in the darkest times there's a spark of light. A truth that the bonds between people can sometimes break through the barriers of politics, nationalism, and war. More than a century later, the story of the Christmas Truce still inspires. It has been memorialized in songs, books, films, and reenactments. It stands as a testament to the idea that even in war, compassion can find a way. The men who shook hands in No Man's Land in 1914 returned to their trenches, and tragically, many of them would not survive the war. But for that one extraordinary Christmas, they showed the world a glimpse of what peace might look like, and it remains one of the most remarkable stories in military history.